Hello and welcome to Stuff Every Queer Kid Should Know, the survival guide for late adolescence, but also Central Jersey. I'm Max Emerson, a writer and performer leveraging social media to create independent narratives. Similar to my other endeavors, this podcast is designed to provide vital resources, role models, and tools that enhance your well-being, foster connections, and support personal growth from late adolescence onward. Welcome back to another episode. Today's guest is Matthew Dempsey to talk about mental health.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Matthew is a licensed professional clinical counselor, LPCC, for those of you who can spell, who graduated with both a Master's of Arts and a Master's of Education in Psychological Counseling from Teachers College, Columbia University. Since graduation, Matthew has experienced years of working with both the LGBT Community Center and the Gay Men's Health Crisis, GMHC, of New York City, where he has developed essential skills to offer the most effective and caring therapeutic experiences in a safe and affirming environment. Ongoing trainings and other means of remaining active in the field of psychology consistently play a role in Matthew's practice to ensure the most current, ethical, and sound therapeutic approaches for his clients. I am so grateful to have you here. This is exactly why I started this podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I love it.
Before we begin, though, I prepared a rapid-fire series of questions for this audience to get to know you better in a segment called Who the Hell Are You?
Whoa.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I guess so.
Name.
Matt Dempsey.
Zodiac sign.
Aries.
Whoa.
Whoa.
What are you here to talk about?
Mental health stuff.
How do you identify on the gender and sexuality spectrum today?
Cis male.
Most favorite animal?
Dog.
I see it. Least favorite animal?
Rat. I don't know.
Last thing you ate?
A salad last night. Had some shrimp and tofu in it.
You haven't had breakfast?
I'm not a breakfast person.
Okay.
No.
How many caffeinated drinks do you have in a day?
2. I have 2 cups of coffee in the morning. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your favorite beverage of choice across the beverage spectrum?
Oh, coffee. Yeah.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
When people cut me off.
In sentences or in traffic?
Kind of both, but mostly in sentences. It's kind of just like, oh, I'm sorry, did I stop the beginning of your sentence with the middle of mine?
Noted. Dream vacation destination?
I think right now Tokyo.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm with you on
Never
that.
been.
I will take you.
Okay, good.
Favorite sport or game?
I'm not a sports person.
Or game?
Conversation. Anytime anybody wants to have a game night, I'm just like, why can't we just have drinks and play conversation?
Play conversation.
How about
All right. Well, some people aren't actually good at conversation and they need the prompts, is
That's
what I've
true.
learned, is it's
That's
more of a
true.
facilitator.
Okay, you know what I like? Those card games that kind of prompt topics of conversation, like Esther Perel or those other sort of games.
Or like, what is it when like people host a dinner and they're like doing too much and there's like a conversation starter on your place
That's
guide?
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little intimacy.
I love that for them. What is your favorite thing about queer bars?
Dancing.
Okay. I see it.
I like the community, of course, but just like the dancing, just like tear it up and just kind of be with your people in your element and just.
It is one of the few places where people actually dance where you don't have to pay $100 for the ticket.
Totally.
On a scale of 1 to 10,
Yeah.
1 being a virtual hellscape and 10 being a queer utopia where we're just, a daisy chain of doing whatever you want.
Yeah.
How are things looking for queer people in America right now?
Oof. God. I'm gonna say, in a hopeful way, 6.5.
I think that's the best score I've gotten so far.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the last item you misplaced?
A pen?
Where was it?
I don't know.
Fair enough. That's a
in
good
where the
answer.
pens were.
What was the last thing you were super mad about?
I went home to visit my family, and my dad didn't show up.
Okay. What was the last
Not
thing?
to get too dark about it, but
Oh no,
it's
we're gonna
true.
keep going. What was the last thing that made you cry?
I can't remember, but I'm probably gonna say some sort of like sentimental like viral video about something loving and accepting.
Oh,
Yeah. It happens pretty regularly, so I'm gonna put my money on that one.
I love that. I'm not usually a victim to those things unless I'm on like a long haul airplane trip.
Yes.
Like,
Oh,
I
that's
will,
such a
like
thing.
I'll cry at the beginning of Up when
Yes.
like normally I'd be like, oh yeah, look at the sad part.
It's such a it's like a phenomenon where people cry on planes. I get way more emotional on planes.
It's the vacuum.
Yeah.
Location of the worst date you've ever had.
Oh my God. Like, I don't know, parking lot, hookup. I don't know if that counts as a date.
That's not where we met 8 years ago, was it?
No, I think that was at the Hudson, actually, which no longer exists.
Oh, that's classy. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for remembering for me.
I
I have a
do.
goldfish brain. It's terrible. What is your most prized possession?
I'm going to say two things. One is my education for psychotherapy, just like psychology. And the second one is just like all the money that I invested into my pottery studio at home.
Your pottery studio?
Yeah, that's like the newest one. I would say that's the most current one.
The only reference I have for pottery is the movie Ghost. So anytime I would be at a
Great.
spinning wheel, I just like think about
Yes.
like being soft spooned. But I don't like have a
Totally.
dead lover. So I'm just assuming someone else's dead lover is just like
Yeah.
waiting for theirs to show up. So they're just
Oh, it
practicing on
did-
me.
That happened when he was still alive, though, so it's okay. There's no necrophilia involved here.
Well, no, it's Ghost. Ghost isn't necrophilia.
Yeah, but it was at the no, it was at the it was at the start though. He was still alive. And
Yeah.
they did their whole like caressing moment.
But there is a scene when he's a ghost and he does it too, right?
Was it?
I thought that was like the
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Get time to rewatch, I guess.
deal. Hey there, listeners. If you're looking to boost your vitality and support your reproductive health, we've got something special for you. Let's talk about Shilajit, a powerful natural supplement that's been used for centuries in traditional Ayurvedic medicine. Recent studies show that Shilajit not only increases testosterone levels, but also significantly improves sperm quality and quantity. We're talking better sperm count, enhanced motility, and healthier morphology, all key factors for the male parts. But not all Shilajit is created equal. That's why we recommend Black Lotus Shilajit. Sourced from the pristine Altai Mountains, Black Lotus Shilajit is pure, potent, and packed with fulvic acid and essential minerals. Unlike other brands, Black Lotus undergoes rigorous purification processes to ensure you're getting the highest quality product on the market. So if you're serious about optimizing your masculine parts, Black Lotus Shilajit is your go-to supplement. Boost your energy, enhance your fertility, and feel your best naturally. My favorite product of theirs is the tincture. I leave it under my tongue for like 15 seconds and go. Try it today. Head over to blacklotusshilajit.com and use code MAX for 15% off your order. That's blacklotusshilajit.com, code MAX, because you deserve the best. Ever wonder how your daily habits like your meals, sleep, or stress impact your health? NutriSense offers a way to take the guesswork out of the wellness journey. For many people, managing health can feel like a shot in the dark. They're trying different diets, workouts, and routines, but without the right information, it's hard to know what's truly working. That is where NutriSense comes in. NutriSense isn't just another health trend. It's a comprehensive program that pairs real-time data from a continuous glucose monitor with one-on-one personalized coaching from expert nutritionists. This combination helps users understand how their bodies respond to food, exercise, sleep, and stress, giving them the insights they need to make informed decisions about their health. What sets NutriSense apart is its unique approach to personalized health. While other programs might offer generic advice, NutriSense tailors its advice based on your unique data. With the support of a board-certified nutritionist, users can receive customized recommendations that align with their specific health goals, making it easier to achieve lasting results. If you're ready to take control of your health, visit nutrisense.io/MaxEmerson to get $50 off your first month. That is nutrisense.io/MaxEmerson. Or you can click on the link in the notes and use my special code, MaxEmerson, for an exclusive $50 discount. Take the first step towards better health with NutriSense today. All right, well, we're going to continue getting to know Matthew. Can you tell us more about your journey into the field of psychology and counseling and what motivated you to pursue that career? Like walk us through from queer kid in high school to
Totally.
allowed to help other queer kids.
It actually kind of started out when I was young, maybe like 5 or 6 or so. Back to my dad. My parents split up, and my mom just kind of found herself into therapy to deal with it. She put me, my brother, and sister in therapy. So, like really early on, it just became a thing that I just kind of knew how to do. It was like a language that I got comfortable with. I didn't realize it at the time. Like as a kid, you're just like making collages and playing card games and getting attention from like a cool older woman. And I'm like, yeah, I vibe with this.
You're like accusing your third grade classmates of projecting. You're like,
Yeah, no, not that. But And then like later on, in like middle school and then eventually in high school, like middle school when I was getting bullied and then high school when I was coming out, like I just asked my mom to put me back in therapy. And so I did.
Okay.
And I just always loved it. I just felt like it was a way that I knew how to connect in. And again, just kind of like a language that I learned. So it always just felt like a thing that I was going to go into. And I even in college, I studied psychology, but I don't know. I kind of just didn't want to do any more school after that. So I was like, well, press pause on this. Maybe psychotherapy will be like a second career in life. I thought I was going to go into the music industry. And so kind of like followed that path. Like after.
What type of music?
Like all kind of music. I mean, at the time though, at the time I was at Columbia Records, interning there. And it was my intern group that discovered John Legend, actually. It wasn't me. But
No way.
Yeah, I'll flex because it was my group.
I was supposed to meet him last week.
Really?
Yeah, him and his wife, Chrissy, have a dog food company called Kismet.
Oh,
they haven't paid me yet, so this is like free promo. They sponsor events at our dog's bougie private dog park, Dog People.
Oh.
And they sent us a gift box recently, but they went to the dog park to host an event. They have like pizza ovens and things, and like they do the craziest events at this dog park.
Pizza ovens in the dog park?
Yeah, and it's actually really good because they just like, it's like a buffet of pizza, but it's all pizza that came out like 30 seconds after it was in. We're supposed to be talking about John Legend, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that my intern group helped facilitate
he
this
shows
pizza
up
in the
and
dog
takes
park
pictures of
moment for
dogs
you.
at the
It's
dog
all, it's all
park.
connected, you know? Anyway, was going to do the music industry. Long story short, it was just kind of like not happening kind of that way. And I just found, I'm so glad that it didn't because it's what helped me kind of find my way back to going to grad school and, just kind of pursuing that. And so I've loved it. And, did grad school, worked at LGBT Community Center, GMHC, and then started private practice.
Was that also kind of a given? Sorry to interrupt. No. Cut you off in your mid-sentence.
You're good.
It's about the sentence though. Did you always know you were going to be working in the LGBT space as well as knowing?
Yes, I went into it and was just like, I want to work with like my people. I wanted to work with like queer people overall. And then inevitably I kind of, honed in and focused a bit more on like gay men specifically.
Okay.
But I mean, in grad school, my focus, the study, the kind of backdrop of the training that I had is in multiculturalism. So just understanding the different cultural identities, the different cultural identities that we have and the experiences that we have, our walks through life, about how that shapes our self-concept and then informs how we show up for our lives, how we feel about ourselves, how we can actualize the things that we want to, or that sort of stuff. So I wanted to put that lens on it for the queer community specifically.
That's a really great way to focus while still keeping such a diverse sort of outlook to it.
Yeah.
We had to take a transracial adoption class.
Oh, cool.
For getting our adoption license, our home study is what they called. Yeah, they only started requiring it like a few years ago.
Is that everywhere or is it California?
Ours is in California, but I'm pretty sure they just require it. And they make you do like a full inventory of like the people in your life and what capacity those people are in your life.
Yeah.
And then they kind of say, hey, maybe you should ask yourself, do you have the resources to adopt someone if you don't have these like cultural access points for them?
That's smart. It's smart. It's responsible. If you're going to be bringing.
No, what they were doing in the 80s was wild. They were just throwing people into families. I mean, they were doing way worse than that. They were like stealing indigenous children and stuff in Australia. But I mean, it reminds me of the jerk, Steve Martin.
Yeah. Yes.
Is living with a black family, finds out he's adopted.
Yeah.
So how has your own identity and experience as a gay man influenced your approach to your therapy and the understanding of your community?
Oh my God. I think probably in every single way.
We talked about getting bullied in middle school. Was that queer kid centric or was that just...
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was...
middle school politics?
Like all of the above, column A, column B, It was, it was back in the 90s where like F slur was dropped, every other, sentence.
Faggot?
Yeah.
That one. Okay, I wasn't sure which...
it was just like fag, you fag. It was just like really anytime that you were just trying to cut down a guy, that would be it. But it definitely
it was
felt
pretty standard. It wasn't,
It was standard, but it definitely felt like it packed a little bit of a punch when a little bit more of a punch when you know on some level that is you. And also, I think like other people did too, so they would kind of give it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Too. So, but
I had a very punchable face in high school because I was actually kind of a bully.
Were you bullied, like physically bullied?
But I would bully back, so I was very much a part of the problem.
Yeah.
My experience with bullying in middle school was actually very similar.
Yeah.
But some of the kids who would turn on me, because I was also very much a part of the problem. It was, get someone else bullied so you don't get bullied. I was one of three boys. We were pretty much the same age. Like that was the game. We were all, But the problem with it was, like, I was in the gifted program, so these kids were smart. So instead of calling me a fagoot, they would just make up another word
Yeah.
use that. So like, I think once in like 7th grade, they were like jumping around the PE gym being like, I'm a swan, I'm a swan. So they couldn't get in trouble for being homophobic.
Yeah.
And somehow that was worse. Like it made me say the F word in my mind.
It's like real coded.
Oof. Oof.
Well, look at you. Now you are a swan. So how wonderful.
Yeah, and they
And
turned
if I
out
good.
okay.
A fagutful swan.
There's synonyms. It's all just one big
Redundant.
synonym
Yeah,
roll. How do you create a safe and affirming environment for clients? Because there's so many different levels of stigma and acceptance, especially with gay men. And I feel like nobody knows, what's the word, defense mechanisms
Yeah.
ingrained to the core
Yeah.
like men. How do you make like the most defensive man feel safe in your space?
Yeah, it is interesting because you have to think about it. I think it's like different, if you're just like a gay guy out in the world, especially talking to like, cis hetero people or whatever, it's like you can kind of throw up a bunch of smoke and mirrors and they're never going to really fully see the defenses. When you try to do that with other gay men, it's like, I know what you're doing. So that's kind of like why there's like a little bit more kind of apprehension and nerves and anxieties that can come up when we're like with our people. You think it would be the other way, but anyway, so what I do is, I think first, especially kind of in the work that I do, is just being mindful to never try to be that sort of like traditional therapist where it's just kind of like, I'm a blank slate. It's all here for you. You shouldn't know too much about me, that sort of shit. It's like, that doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially for those of us who've come from, invisible, marginalized experiences. It's like, you kind of have to be a little bit more open in order to be like
you have
I'm
to
kind
trust
of
the
vibing
person.
with you. Yeah, be transparent about it. So I think that would probably be like number one, just a little bit of transparency, but it's always with the intention of helping you feel not alone. So you have to use it in small doses, because if I start talking about myself all the time, now it's like my show.
If you're like me, you want to fuel your body with the best possible ingredients, whether you're working out, staying active, or just looking to maintain a healthy lifestyle. That's why I'm excited to share with you Peori's Whey Protein. It's not just any protein powder, it's a game changer. Peori's Whey Protein is sourced from grass-fed cows, ensuring that you're getting a clean, pure, and high-quality protein. What sets this protein powder apart is its simplicity and commitment to quality. There are no artificial sweeteners, fillers, or unnecessary additives, just pure protein goodness with a delicious natural bourbon vanilla flavor. Plus, it's sweetened with organic coconut sugar, so it tastes amazing without all the junk. Whether you're mixing it into your morning smoothies or shaking it up post-workout, Peori Protein Powder delivers 21 grams of protein per serving, helping to support muscle recovery, energy levels, and overall wellness. And for those of us who care about where our food comes from, it's great to know that Peori's Whey is certified by the Clean Label Project, ensuring it's free from harmful contaminants like heavy metals and pesticides. Ready to elevate your protein game? Head over to Peori.com and use my promo code MaxEmerson. That's Peori.com/MaxEmerson. Don't mess out. Head to Peori.com/MaxEmerson and use promo code MaxEmerson today.
Stuff Every Queer Kid Should Know is brought to you by Max Emerson's newest novel, The Sparkle Club. What happens when a gay-baiting influencer and social justice warrior goes too far and accidentally gets himself canceled? The Sparkle Club is a novel told through 3 alternating perspectives and follows Markle Sparkle on his road to redemption, doing a summer of community service while living in rural Ohio with the family whose lives he destroyed. Only 1,000 limited edition hard copies are available at thesparkleclub.org. The ebook is available at all online platforms. Grab a copy today and see what all the fuss is about. Dude, we had the hardest time finding a couples therapist when we were looking for that because we were trying to do some inventory before the adoption process because it's not an easy process. And also, like, we want to just get rid of as much of our bullshit as I can before having kids. We had to audition a lot of therapists. We got one from like the VA through Andres' veterans program. And it was this straight guy who did like a 20-minute thing about how he did musical theater and community theater and like da-da-da-da. And he just started talking about him in The Music Man.
Oh, no.
It was weird. And don't get me wrong, like I'm bad at doing therapy. Like I have the people-pleasing tendencies where like the crew will be here setting up and I've just like, I should be like prepping for your interview, but instead I'm like making everybody coffee and like, you want a smoothie? What would you like? I had allergies. Like,
there's no being bad at therapy. You just bring in whatever you've got and then it's going to be perfect.
Yeah, but I also like want them to read me. Like it's
Yeah.
weird. Like I did therapy through the LA LGBT Center. The
Uh-huh.
LA LGBT Center is an amazing resource, and if you're in the area, you should absolutely check it out.
Yeah, it is.
But I kept being like, "Oh no, but how are you doing today?" She's like, "No, Max." But like for me, it felt very selfish, which I guess is the point of it.
The point of it is just bring in whatever you've
Mm.
got. Do you know what I mean? And if you're going to come in, your stuff is supposed to play out. So even in that way with the therapist, you know, so for you to get to go in there and, you know, do your people pleasing thing,
Mhm.
it all is grist for the mill. So, you know, it's kind of just like, oh, I've noticed you've done that. Like, what's that about? How often do you do that? When else have you done that? Let's explore that. And then you start to get at the root of it. So it's like, you can't do it wrong. You just come in as yourself and just trust that it's all gonna give you and the therapist whatever you need to be able to process this stuff so you can find some healing.
Interesting.
Yes.
The way I've always seen it, not always, but like in this very like nothing's technically wrong kind of suburban context, not processing any major traumas.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I have people in my life that have been to war and have to like actually do like the
For sure.
real ISTDP kind of therapies and things.
Yeah.
But for like, you know, just suburban housewife drama kind of stuff, I find that like the role of the therapist is to help you discover all of the things that you're doing that everyone sees that you don't know you're doing. Because if someone calls you out,
Say that again. What did you just say
like,
to my face?
Yeah, exactly.
No idea
Well,
what-
it's like
So word soup.
It is word soup, but it makes sense. We all have cognitive dissonance. Like we all are completely hypocritical and are full of shit in some capacity, and we don't see it.
For sure.
And
Blind spots.
what's that?
Blind spot.
Blind spots.
Yeah.
And usually everyone close to us sees them,
Mm-hmm.
except we don't.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is if someone really close to you brings it up,
Yeah.
it either like steals the defense mechanism from them and it can no longer protect them from the thing that they need it for,
Right.
or they just set up that wall and like do the like narcissist dance and run away.
Yeah.
So I feel like a therapist's job is to just it's like a good acting director is it's to ask the questions so
Yeah.
that the patient is the one to discover it.
For
Is that-
sure. Yeah.
That's like the low stakes.
I kind of do like a combination of the two where there are sometimes it's majority of the time it's about like just asking the right questions and kind of
Mm.
seeing what's coming and reflecting it back and, you know, that sort of stuff. But there are some times where I'll just be really pointed and, you know, just kind of say like, can I just give you like some advice or can I just
Really?
give you like my quick, like 10-second hot take on this, whatever.
Okay.
Take it with a grain of salt. But I think no matter what the approach is as a therapist, but I think just for anybody in any relationship, if you want to offer somebody perspective, you know, it's kind of like, I'm noticing you're like, you kind of keep doing this thing or what is, I think it might be tripping you up or whatever.
Mhm.
It's like, first of all, ask for the invitation. Can I
Yeah.
say this thing?
Mhm.
I'm noticing something. Can I say it? Right? If you ask for the invitation, I don't know that I've had an experience where somebody has said like, I don't think so. People are like, oh my God, yes, please. They like want it. But
Really?
it's only received in that way if you like ask for the invitation
Get the
first.
consent first because you're touching someone like it's
Totally.
very intimate.
Yeah. So then they have to open the door. And then when they do, then just offer your take. But it has to be with the intention of this is an offering. Like it's
Yeah.
either going to land or it won't. And that's okay if it doesn't. You know, hopefully it maybe can offer you something, but it's an offering. So like no strings attached. I'm not going to give you this advice or give you this perspective only if you like, you know, take it or
Mhm.
do something with it because then it's about
Okay.
you, not them.
Yeah, I always try to keep it like obviously I try to be like, hey, have you considered going to therapy? But
Yeah.
if that doesn't seem to be on the table, again, I'm from Central Florida. There's a lot of like, no, this is what I do.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of mention like, you know, I've noticed like a lot of these stories seem to revolve around a central theme.
Yes. Say it just like that.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah. What's going on with you?
That's fantastic. I did a course of individual therapy and I was so weird about it. Like I had this.
Meaning you were doing your therapy or you took a course in...
No, I took therapy. Like I got
okay.
therapy. And I had this wonderful therapist. She was really lovely. I really wanted her to like read me at the end of each session. And I
Yeah.
finally got her to do it. And she'd be like, well, you make a lot of jokes
Uh-huh.
and you explain things away. And, you know, like it's kind of the same note I get in acting classes where they're like, okay, we're going to have to find your vulnerability.
Yeah.
Sit still,
Yeah.
breathe,
Yeah.
make eye contact with the person and let
Yep.
them see you.
Yes. Hey, Max, I see you.
Get
Get off of me.
Yeah. I think it's like the Irish American culture is like they
Uh-huh.
don't like that level. They like to like make jokes at
Yeah.
each other's expenses as their way of bonding, but then eventually someone goes too far and their feelings get hurt.
Yeah.
It's like this cycle I see.
Yeah. And it's also plays into, I feel like, a lot of sort of like cutting gay humor at times too, which is
Oh,
like
yeah.
kind of chip away and cut down. And like,
It's tough in California because people don't do mean here. They don't do direct.
you know, I gotta tell you, like, I kind of don't either. Like,
Okay.
I don't like it too much. I think like anything else in very small doses, in the right context with the right people, it can sometimes kind of be playful, but I just kind of don't go there with it. It's like, you know, before we started kind of like filming, we were talking about just how, I don't know, kind of like, I forget, whatever, the jokes, but like, you know, how you can just kind of be like cutting and mean and whatever. And I have this one friend, who was just always so good about kind of turning the dial in the opposite way. So you can still be kind of like hyperbolic and just be like, oh my God, are you a fucking model? Fucking go off queen, you know? And it's kind of like that same sort of like over the top energy, which can be funny.
Right, as opposed
in
to
its
like, I
own
think there
way.
was a Big Mouth episode about it with like the gay kid character where they're like, he meets an older gay and he's like, honey, being mean and gay isn't a personality. It's like, oh yeah, right. And I don't mean like that. I mean, yeah, it's fun to rip into each other as long as you know it's a game.
Yeah.
Like as long as like the gloves are on and it's
Yeah.
like puppy play.
Yeah.
But I very much agree that if that's the default and you're not like immediately countering that with positivity towards other
Yeah.
people, it'll wear you
Yeah.
down pretty quick.
Totally.
The thing I was really referring to with like East and West Coast is I'm not good at the high context stuff.
Uh-huh.
You need to just tell me no.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Like-
you mean like on the West Coast, everybody kind of dances around some stuff?
Like I'll
Yeah.
pitch a project here and they're like, oh, great, we'll circle back. Well, like, no, maybe,
my
and
God.
it means no.
Yes.
But instead, I'm like following up for 2.5 months, being like,
Yeah.
hey, I want to see where we're at. And
Just
this
say
is-
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. When I first moved
Oh,
here,
it drives me nuts.
it's well, because it's crazy making. When I first moved here, I remember I like started in the first couple of weeks, like through a couple, you know, through a
Well, you're
friend
from
or
like
whatever.
central direct land, like New York and that whole area is,
Yeah, well,
is
so-
like the most direct.
Yeah. I grew up like just outside, like a half hour outside of New York, and then lived in New York through all of my 20s. So then when
Yeah.
I moved here, I remember I just like started meeting, you know, kind of all these new people. Like I went to this one party that my friend threw, and I was kind of like, oh, this is a great chance to just kind of meet, you know, whoever. And everybody was just like, oh, you just moved here. Oh, we have to get lunch. Oh, we have to get coffee. Oh, let's get a drink. Oh, let's hang out or whatever. And I was like, it is so easy to make friends in LA. This is great. I've got a whole group of friends. Quickly found out it was just pleasantries, like nobody. So it was like I had to learn how to kind of, it's like code switching, right? Like you have to like learn the new sort of culture and language.
Yeah, what
and
actually
recognize it.
is a friend.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And also like, I don't want to start, you know, I don't want to get bitter about it and just be like, fuck LA and the people. It's just like, okay, this is just a different way of doing it.
Central
and I
LA's
just have
tough.
to-
I was very lonely when I first moved here and lived in West Hollywood. Like
Yeah.
that neighborhood doesn't work for me because of that feeling of, and I'm sure this is in my head and it's a feedback loop, but there's this feeling of being disposable.
Uh-huh.
Whereas being out here on the West Side feels like I've got like my regular group of volleyball friends. I've got my surf buddies, but
Yeah.
I also grew up with brothers and like our way of bonding and connecting is chasing a ball around
Yeah.
or surfing
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
And that's when we'll actually have conversations.
Yeah.
So like for me, like, I guess like you could do a hike to Runyon and that counts.
That was your like reach for like West Hollywood.
I'm
so
trying not
bad.
to be shitty about it because I know like everyone's like, yeah, WeHo. WeHo's lovely. WeHo has like so many wonderful things about it. But for me,
Sure.
it's just a little too much because of that. Like I
I
do find it really
mean,
hard to have a deeper connection sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like aside from like the gay thing, it's not like the most culturally diverse place or racially diverse place, you know. So that's obviously not a huge win. But I just think in general, if you just stay in any one place, you know, it's going to be, you know, when is one note ever really great? So you know, make sure
That's
you've
true.
got friends and activities all over the place.
I never stuck around long. I was only there for a few months. I didn't stick around long enough to build a community or like join a theater.
This
and do
is
all
your
that
review
stuff.
on a
So-
couple months in
so
WeHo.
I just got this feeling when I got there. It was like, this ain't it.
Yeah.
And it's tough because being out here, like I would love to be in a regular acting class and do all these things, but it's like a whole day commitment to get into town. So
Yeah,
like there's
yeah,
a
yeah.
huge trade-off, but
I feel you.
I need salt water.
Well, I mean, for sure, it does. Yeah, I mean, I moved specifically to WeHo because I was, you know, working with gay guys
Yeah.
in the queer community and everything. And so, you know, I had my home office and was set up for that. So I was just like, okay, well, I always stay here at Central, and it's, you know, convenient, whatever. But yeah, ever since like COVID, I never went back to in person. So I'm just like, well, I guess I'm not beholden to WeHo anymore. I can
Interesting.
spread my gay wings.
You're welcome to join us lesbians out in
Okay, good.
Palisades.
Listen, I love the lesbian lifestyle. It's for me.
Someone at a party in WeHo called Andres and I the Beach Lesbians, and it really resonated. We have like
the
large,
lesbians.
the bes-
The
yeah.
lesbians.
Well, we have like, you know, Andres is former military. We have the Subaru Forester. We have the
Great.
large dog.
Yes.
We walk to our hiking trail. Like
Totally.
it's
Good.
lesbian
I
paradise.
love it.
Back to you though. How do you stay informed about the latest developments and trends within the LGBTQIA+ community and their implications to mental health? I feel like that can, I don't want to say it can be a minefield, but I feel like the conversation changes very quickly.
Yeah.
And what ways do you use to stay updated?
I mean, I'm going to say something that's going to not sound cool, but like social media, that's like a nice starting point.
Why would
for
that
me.
not sound cool? I feel like that's a huge resource.
Well, then I'm going to say something cool, social media.
Ooh.
Because it's just, I think it's just like the perfect way to just kind of have a little bit more of your finger on the pulse of some of the conversations that are happening publicly and that sort of stuff. So you can just kind of like get a vibe of what's going on. And then otherwise, there's like all kinds of like, there's like, training organizations and stuff, like clinical training organizations that constantly have different trainings that you can go to, whether it's like online or in person. I've also had my own therapist and been working with him for like a year and a half, and he's like a fucking wizard. He's so good. So he just kind of like helps. So I'm through experience.
That's got to be tough to be a therapist. That's like the boss's boss.
You would think, but I think if you are doing it well and you're also like legit too, then it's not. Like I've been a therapist to therapists. I've also, had therapists as a therapist. And it's kind of great. Like
Almost deceptively simple.
I wouldn't call it simple, but yes, it's like you would think. Most people would think what your
like two mirrors looking at each other.
It's just like we honestly can just kind of like cut right to it. Do you know what I mean? And so
you have the language.
And have the language, and I'm there not to prove anything. I'm there to like grow and heal. And same thing with him too. He's there to like help me do that. So it's just kind of like let's get to it. It's like start crying, and then we're healing, and then I'm tending to that inner wounded child, and it's just like it's so good.
Okay, so the moments are like. Is that your therapy face? Your therapy O face?
Yes. That's how my clients know they did a good job. At the end. Yeah.
You do it or they do it?
Oh, no, me. It's for me.
The therapist does the... Okay.
It's for the therapist, yeah.
For those of you not watching the video component, we're making lewd gestures at each other.
It was mostly Max.
Fair. Why do you believe it's important to go beyond the coming out narrative when discussing the experiences of gay men? Like, what are some of the other critical aspects of their lives that need more visibility? Because I feel like it's like we have these like coming of age stories and the end.
Yes.
But that's like
a short
period.
I feel like probably the most common reference point for something like this is like the Velvet Rage, right? It's kind of like you're a gay, you probably at least heard of it or something, probably hopefully read it.
Oh, I read the Velvet Rage. It reminds me of like my uncles. And their experience, more than my uncle's kids and their experience. Like we're somewhere in between. I'm assuming we're the same age.
Yeah. How old are you?
35.
42.
Okay.
Similar-ish, but yes.
So you're a little bit closer to the Velvet Rage land.
Yes.
Well, I just think of it as like a Gen
to our
X
gay elders.
Well, I mean, because it's that like they stayed in the closet longer. They do have more of that sense of shame to it. There's less understanding of the neurospices.
But yes, and so things are changing for sure. But like just at its core, the sort of idea that coming out is not when shame ends. And so just being able to recognize that and to recognize how much just how much the shame continues to influence how we see ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, how we kind of know what to do with our lives to have like a most kind of meaningful and fulfilling sort of life and connect in ways that we want to. So being able to understand like all those layers and nuances. So like, for sure, as far as entertainment goes, like coming of age stories are always so great. And I mean, it's like, even for us, like watching, I don't know, like Love, Simon or whatever, can be so heartwarming and can really help be healing even for like that part of ourselves. But I mean, there's just so much more kind of nuance and layers to attend to.
Okay.
And like the thing, I'll speak for myself, a thing that I have been really kind of honed in on and focused on has just been like more like creative stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's like kind of important.
Almost like through play.
Yeah. I just saw this quote. Somebody had written it. It was, the opposite of depression isn't joy, it's expression.
Oh.
Which I think is really good because I think we can kind of like almost fetishize the idea of like happiness or joy. Like that's supposed to be the one note that we go for. And it's like, no, we're fucking human beings. It's like a broad spectrum. So,
well, you also just need contrast to know what joy feels like.
For sure. Right? Exactly. Right. But it's just kind of like depression is kind of when we don't allow ourselves to, kind of follow our intuition and follow the things that matter to us or that speak to us and whatever, so that we then can find a way to express like whatever charge that gives us, So, and something like being shamed for just who you are. I mean, think about it. It's like you grow up and you have the whole world around you telling you that something that feels so intuitively right. Like, it's like when people say like, "Oh, how do you know when you're gay?" Or "How do you know if you're trans?" Or "How do you know if you're queer?" It's like, you just know. It's like an intuitive thing. It's not a thought or a feeling. So to have that part of our kind of process like shut down and sort of like abandon that part of ourselves, like the authentic part of ourselves, the intuitive knowing of who we are and what matters to us. It's like,
Right. You're being taught it's something that needs to be hidden. Like a lot of big celebrities are in the closet, and that teaches you that needs to be hidden, or they're being conflated with pedophiles and groomers and all this terrible. Yeah.
all the micro and macro aggressions, So, but learning how, so after coming out, learning how that's happened, about how we've kind of divorced ourselves from the intuitive part of ourselves out of survival and need to kind of feel like we're going to be okay. And then learn how to bridge that gap and reconnect to it and develop that relationship so then you can.
It's just like relearning to trust your first impulse.
Yes.
Rather than just watching yourself do something all the time.
I mean, for sure. I don't know about you, but it's like I can easily get so tripped up and just kind of like, wait, what am I doing? What am I about to do? What am I about to say? Blah, 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 blah. And it's just kind of like, oh, you can't be in flow with life and be able to reinforce that you're okay if you're constantly like so, self-conscious.
If you're just watching the thing happening, you're not doing the thing.
Oh my God.
I listened to an interesting podcast a year or two ago that focused on narcissistic personality disorder.
Okay.
And I thought that was really interesting because most people are kind of more up to date on this than the previous impressions, but a lot of people would think that like, oh, narcissists and echo, they're obsessed with themselves. They think they're so great. And the reality of it is that they hate themselves and they're trying to hide this person that they think they are by projecting an image of someone that they're not.
Oh, for sure.
So being gay and in the closet is basically coming with narcissistic tendencies. And that's it. I'm not saying that gays are narcissists, but it's definitely something that even I've had to watch because social media has turned us all into somewhat projectors of an image that is not really us.
Right.
Have you noticed anything similar to that? I mean, I also think like my dad might have been a narcissist. He was divorced 3 times. So like I've had to personally do a lot of inventory when it comes to that particular subject, but I've noticed that with gay men, especially like when they come out later in life, is that there's a lot of, like you said, watching yourself do something and then judging whether or not that's the right thing to do before actually acting.
Yeah. I think it gets,
more word soup. I'm sorry.
What's that?
More word soup.
No, I think I got it. I think I got this one. Stay with me here. No, I think, certain terms, like psych terms, like narcissism and stuff get thrown around very casually and just kind of like oftentimes, and like the majority of the time it doesn't apply. Like,
is it something like ADHD where it can be spectrum as well? Like, can you have some tendencies toward it, or is it you either are or you aren't?
To be honest with you, I'm not gonna like speak too much on this because I'm not an expert on personality disorders, but it's sort of like, I don't know, kind of like the way, people will be just like, oh, they're codependent. Mm-hmm. It just kind of means like, oh, they just can't like.
Gaslighting me.
Yeah. Or gaslight. I mean, all these terms. And so the first note is they get way overused when it's not appropriate or accurate, I guess I should say. But the second note is, I think the reason why people are kind of grabbing onto them is because we've just been so starved for more awareness around mental health and emotional well-being and just language for it. And so when we're able to start to realize like, oh, other people have their shit too. Like, I don't need to keep beating myself up over this or kind of think that I'm the broken one or the wrong one. It's like, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, people can think about themselves too much, or people can be like, whatever, or people are gaslighting or whatever. It's kind of like, oh, okay. It just helps to kind of offer a different sort of framework for ourselves and for our relationships with selves, or relationship with others. So I think, it gets problematic when we lean a little too far in that direction, but I think it's almost because
it's tough when you learn a new tool. Like you just want to start using your hammer for everything. Exactly. Or like, what is it? Every first year med student contracts every disease.
Yeah. It's also kind of like coming out, like there's this whole, I think like from the 70s or something, it's like a gay identity development model. And so there's like 7 stages to coming out. And so it's like identity confusion, kind of, I don't know what's going on. Identity comparison, you start taking notes. Tolerance, like, okay, this like, I think might be me. Acceptance, which is like, okay, I'm gay. And then it's like, and then pride. And it's kind of like, I'm proud, this is me, beating my rainbow drum. Yeah. You would think that would probably be the last stage, but it's not. No. Like the last stage is synthesis. So it's about how you integrate it into all of the parts of of who you are. So it's kind of the same thing. It's like you learn a tool.
It's like a necessary overcorrection in some capacity. Like we do need to
Exactly.
throw it in your face for a minute.
Perfect way to say it, necessary overcorrection. That's what it is. But that's also what it is. It's an overcorrection. So like we then kind of, start to temper it back into.
So like
more
when a
balanced
straight
way.
person says, I don't care if you're gay, why do you have to throw it in my face? It's like, well, it's part of the process.
Yeah.
Bear with me.
That's their own ignorance about that too, though. So
I love that. Oh man, there's so much that we can go into with all of this.
yeah.
I'm going to stick to what I prepared already, though.
Okay.
What role do you see community engagement playing in the therapeutic process for gay men, and how do you encourage that?
Can you ask that in a different way?
Like, what role do you think that community for queer people has in their well-being?
Oh my God, it's everything. You know what I mean? It's not everything, but it's so huge.
And how are some ways that you could encourage that? Like maybe if they don't have, a gay bar or a gay night or queer healthcare providers or even queer friends where they live. Like what sort of resources would you be doing if you were stuck somewhere closeted or otherwise?
Yeah.
Like are there other ways like digitally that you'd recommend?
For sure. I mean, that's like, the kind of the easiest and most obvious answer is the right one, which is, digital.
Yeah.
Like we're so fortunate that we live in a time where we have access to so much information and education, but also connection with other people.
Mhm.
So like social media, but there's also like, I'm a part of this sort of like mental health workshop / support group, whatever. It's all on Zoom, So I'm like kicking it with these like 20 to 25 people every Thursday and just like having at it. And it's so good. And it's like, for me, it's not queer specific. There's like some other queer people in it, but it's more just like, that's my community of like mental health, kind of like nerds, they're not even like necessarily all clinicians. It's just people that like vibe like that. And so like that for me is really necessary, kind of in that way. And so that's how I have access to community, and they're like all over the world. So, I think especially for us in the queer community, it's just so necessary for us to have connection and contact with other people who share similar kind of walks in life and have those identities, especially for those of us who've grown up like our unique marginalized experience has been one where it's like invisible mostly, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's its own unique thing. So you
The
have
history has been revised.
Yes. Wait, what?
Like you don't have historical examples because like
I
queer
just went
people in history-
I just went off singing Natasha Bedingfield. The rest is still unwritten in my head, so I wasn't fully paying attention.
Can you sing it for me? I don't know it.
The rest is still unwritten. Oh.
No, I just meant that like there's a lot of revisionist history with queer characters. Dr. Eric Cervini did that show, Queer History, the Book of Queer on HBO, where they talked about Abraham Lincoln having romantic correspondences with other men and like Egyptian pharaohs and all of these like queer people that, history will say they were very close friends type of thing. So we don't have these examples historically, and we're only now starting to have them in popular culture that even if it's, what's it called, a parasocial relationship, that can service some model at least to start.
Totally. I love servicing models. So this is great.
Okay.
And but there are so just in a general sense, like just connect with other people who have like just shared experience, but then also everything you're talking about, whether it's, like queer historians or queer therapists or whatever, it's like we can actually just help each other out as like this, kind of larger community about supporting each other and, kind of learning what was real and learning how to heal.
Back to therapy though, what are some changes or advancements you'd like to see? Because I've seen some therapists that don't work.
That don't work?
Like that didn't work for me. Like for me, like the thing with therapy was actually finding the person that worked for me. I didn't mean to judge these other therapists because I'm sure that they've helped tons of people.
Yes.
But like, what would you like to see kind of in your industry shift or change or grow into?
I gotta say, that's a tough one because I feel really proud of, just psychology and psychotherapy specifically, sort of like the clinical work, whatever, just kind of like how the field continues to evolve. I mean, like I said, when I was in grad school, it was really sort of like the newer wave of, it was, there's always kind of like popular, like, or kind of like certain like theoretical approaches to therapy that just kind of like come in vogue. And so when I was, this was back in like, I don't know, 2006 or something, it was like multiculturalism, like that was it. Like used to be like CBT or used to be like psychoanalysis, but then it's like multiculturalism.
Also the poking, what's that called? The lobotomies were hot for a minute.
Oh, great. Yeah, for sure. To each their own. So
there's a phase for everything.
But I think it's almost just kind of like embedded into the sort of like ethos or like the culture of therapy is to continue to be self-reflective. And so I think like the field itself continues to do that and is always kind of expanding and growing. So I do feel pretty proud of it. If anything, I would say, I do, we're talking about it, like how people are kind of like overusing these kind of like pop psych terms and stuff on social media, but I love that there's so much more awareness about stuff around just kind of like, not just like mental health in general, but also like the techniques and how to, attend to these things, whatever. So
it's almost like the throwing around of that lingo is kind of the overcorrection necessary for just giving us the vocabulary to use in the first place.
And just awareness of it, awareness of it as a tool, awareness of it as a process. So, I don't know. If anything, if I had to say, I guess just to, aside from the sort of the clinical evolution and development of stuff within our field, also just making sure that there's way more transparency about that stuff and using, I don't know, social media or anything to be able to help let people in on that.
Okay. Well, and the last thing I want to talk about is kind of the stigma of therapy. And I feel like that is part of this conversation, and that that's starting to erode, and people are accepting that like it's good to go to therapy even if you don't have a massive problem to work on. Like it's nice to clean your house before it's trashed.
For sure.
Do you have anything that maybe people may want to hear that would encourage them to seek out therapy, or any kind of rituals that you have in your own life for kind of self-care and mental health that you think might benefit 16-year-old Matt Dempsey in the mythical Central Jersey? South Jersey. You said North Jersey, technically.
It's weird because Jersey is kind of like split. There's like North Jersey, that's more like New York, Jersey, and then there's like South Jersey, that's like Philly, Jersey. Yeah. Yeah. And so there's kind of like, I'm in like Central North Jersey. Anyway, doesn't matter. Central North, we'll say. I think, I can go on like a whole diatribe about like kind of why you shouldn't have stigma and just like say yes to it and stay open to it and like whatever. I think like the easiest answer to this is pay attention to who you're following on social media. And
because it's you are what you eat, right?
You are what you eat. Pay attention to it, but specifically pay attention to the people that you follow that you feel good about following, because they're doing something that feels inspiring or creative, or they just kind of seem like they've got like a cool fucking vibe that you're like, oh, I just feel better. Pay attention to that, and then just kind of see what they're doing, and maybe kind of like follow along in that, like I've got my own kind of like process and stuff, or just sort of like well-being and whatever. Like I get up in the morning and I do like my 10-minute meditation. I do my gratitude journal, and and
you're doing all of the homework. I love that.
That's how I just like start my day.
I can barely do like the 10-minute headspace.
Really?
Which is kind of like my nap. It's like my 2 hours after lunch. I'll just like lay down. And
that is not. It's not.
It counts. It totally.
Napping does not. Napping.
I don't
is
actually
its
sleep.
Own thing.
I can't nap. Like that's the closest I get to napping. It's like it's my 10 minutes to sit still, and I've justified that as doing something.
That is absolutely doing something.
Yeah. And I find that if I do it every day, I'm pretty even keel.
Okay, good.
But then like if I forget to do it for a week, I'll start cracking up and I'm less generous with people and all these things. Like, oh yes, it's preventative maintenance.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like all those kinds of things, I've just gotten, over the year, even before kind of like social media was what it was, I was just like such an open nerd growing up. So I just kind of followed what she did. Or,
you were pretty well equipped at a young age.
I think so. Liz Gilbert, Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. She also wrote Big Magic. So it's like I kind of follow her stuff. And then there's just people like, whoever, my favorite influencers and stuff on social media. I just kind of follow them, watch them doing pottery, or watching them making like cooking videos or whatever. I'm just like, there's something in all of that. If you just keep following the energy that you feel makes you kind of like feel uplifted, then kind of just mimic a little bit of what they do and just kind of see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. I think if you start there, then you're starting to trust your intuition a little bit more, and that kind of can crack the door open for some other things. And if you ever get to a place where you feel like that it could be a worthwhile venture to do therapy, highly recommend it. I've been doing it throughout my life. So it's like, and even still, I'm just like, I can't believe how much I keep learning, whatever. It's like, it's just so great. It's just so kind of like healing. So but I do think we're in a good place where there's not the same level of stigma. And I think especially for us as queer people, it's like, if we've had to come out, we're just kind of like, oh, I can do therapy. Like, that's not bad.
I mean, it's a resource, and it's so in demand right now that I think it's fantastic. So thank you for coming on and sharing all of this. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface, so I hope you can come back and talk about more specific issues in the future.
For sure.
But thank you for all the work that you're doing to help the people in your community.
Oh, thank you.
As always, we like to end this show on a low note with a segment called Fight Me. Matt has selected a controversial topic from a series of controversial topics. He has selected his stance on the topic, and he will have 60 seconds to argue the hell out of it before I rebut it. Hopefully we cannot keep this civil. What topic have you selected? What stance have you selected? And would you like to go first?
Oh my goodness. It was a toss-up between scrambled pancakes or straight pride. I'm gonna go with straight pride.
Okay.
And I'll go first.
Are you for or against straight pride?
Against straight pride. Get out of here.
Let's hear it.
Do I just go? 60 seconds is kind of a long time. Okay, straight pride, get out of here. Okay, pride comes from, I just gave you the whole rundown about, about how, you have to have pride when you're marginalized. So it's a thing that you have to dig for when you grow up in a world that has immediately normalized exactly who you are, at least as far as sexuality is concerned. It's like, there's not a journey to get to a place of needing to understand that, accept it, celebrate it. That's where pride comes from. Pride is the opposite of shame. So it's like, we've had such deep embedded shame within us. So it's like, yes, we've gotten to a good place. Yes, let's celebrate that. And this is what it is. And it's also a little bit of like, it's for everybody. Here's how you break through the bullshit in life and then, celebrate yourself. So that's pride. You can't have that when you are part of the majority. Like when you have that privileged experience and identity, that's not, there has not been the experience of shame in that. So there is no pride celebration for you. I'm so sorry. How much more time do I have?
That was, whenever you're done is when you're done. It's just 60 seconds is the limit.
Yeah, fight me.
You said what you needed to say, and I will fight you on this.
Me.
I adore you. I respect you. I look up to you in a lot of ways, but you could not possibly be more wrong, Matthew Dempsey.
Tell me how.
First of all, a lot of people would argue there already is a straight pride. St. Patrick's Day, SantaCon, 4th of July. You could honestly just rename any of those straight pride, but I think that they should get a specific one so that they'll shut the fuck up. All these like J.K. Rowlings of like, cis is a slur, I need pride. Great, have a pride. See how much fun it is. Go have your straight pride. See who shows up. See how colorful it is. See how much dancing there's gonna be. See what happens when you exclude everybody who's not straight from your party. It'll give you a great perspective. I'm fully in favor of straight pride. Just to watch these assholes embarrass themselves. And you know what?
How beautiful.
Maybe we can learn something.
Maybe.
But you know what? I think we're going to have to agree to disagree.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you. The reach.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Stuff Every Queer Kid Should Know. This is a Wellness Loud production produced by Drake Peterson and Jake Wachtel. Additional production by Cass Falding and Chantilly Toison. The episode was recorded by Jason Siegel, Mun Singh, edited by Jesse Trout, and mixed by Mike Fry. Music by Tom Goss. If you like this show, don't forget to share it with your friends, subscribe on your preferred channel, or all of them, and give us a 5-star rating. It would be super, super helpful. Thank you so much to all my Patreon subscribers. You are credited in the show notes. Thank you for listening. See you next time.